Hi, this is Ally Scotti from RCSoup here at Walt's HobbyTown with Gil Losi Jr. Mr. Losi, is this your first time at Walt's HobbyTown?
In many, many, many years, so long I don't know if I remember the first time.
What is Firelands Group?
Firelands Group is a product development company that is aligned with HobbyTown in the US, and we are really focused on providing HobbyTown with its core, kind of the core starter level products that really just try to have the best value in the basher market, which is the sweet spot for most of the HobbyTown customers.
Can you tell us a little bit about what your role is there?
Wow, my role is kind of bring culture, tie both engineering, business people, customers, and supply chain all together, kind of. So call it kind of I think head of R&D would be my title, but it's really more working with vendors, customers, stores, and then all the business people behind it that make it work, so everybody understands each other, all the different perspectives.
What project are you most proud to have been a part of during your time in the industry?
Wow. It's all one big honor. I mean, I'm one of the luckiest people in the world to have raced for Delta in their heyday, helped Associated develop the RC10, then the 12L and all the L series. The L originally stood for Losi. Working together, like the T-bar in your car was something I developed in 1983. And it's purely for selfish reasons. It wasn't a go out and I'm going to change the world in that mentality. It's just I wanted that in my car. I built it. It worked, and it's still around. So just was super lucky to do that. Be part of the Associated development in the mid '80s. Then we had the Ranch Pit Shop, which got to design and build lots of tracks. I built tracks that have held 2 world championships for off-road and 3 on-road, and that was a blast. I don't know how to pick one thing out of it. And then the entire Team Losi project, the development of all the Jerix 2 through the XX4 and the 8. I take kind of pride in knowing that when we developed the 8, that changed the industry. It was a very developed program. The Japanese and the Europeans had been racing 8-scale off-road. I think the first world championship was in '86. And then we were able to come in 20 years later and turn that industry on its ear and make everybody have to build new cars to be able to compete with us. And so I like being part of innovating to the point where our fingerprint sticks on the industry forever. And I think 10-scale, almost every 10-scale product in the industry today comes from the work me and my team did. 8-scale now has the same fingerprint. 8-scale on-road, you would be surprised, we imported Serpent in the mid-'80s, and in those days all cars were rear diff, very different than they are today layout-wise. Just they looked the same, but where the weight was, how the geometry in the front and rear end worked, how they all ran differentials, and it was myself and Gary Kais as we developed Serpent to work on American tracks. We kind of came up with a spool, how to set the car up and make it work with the spool, and then changed we did our own chassis, our own radio plates and layout, and moved the motor around. And Serpent came over and taught them how to make it their car work on our tracks. They went home and found that same car worked well on their tracks. And every 8-scale car from that point forward has evolved with the live axle and the setup and everything that me and Gary did. So it's like we see our little fingerprints in all these different categories. And on-road, the rear suspension, I changed that. So I've just been really fortunate to be at the right place at the right time with the right support system to be able to be part of all this.
When you first started in the hobby, did you ever picture yourself where you are today?
No, not at all. Not at all. I just, like I said, just was a kid racing. I was a really shy kid that just was doing what I absolutely loved to do, and just this journey happened to me. It wasn't intentional.
In what direction do you think the industry is going?
Wow. Well, it's more and more specialized. You get more and more professional guys in each category. When we started, you had 1 or 2 classes of off-road. You had 1 or 2 classes of on-road and 1 or 2 classes of oval, and that was it. That described all the racing, and everybody did one of those 3 or 4 disciplines. Now there's, it's fragmented into 100 pieces. So I think racing is as big today or bigger than it's ever been, but you can go to any one event and feel smaller because it's so fragmented out and people become so specialized. I think on that, I would like to see some of the classes de-evolve, so it would take less of a learning curve to get up to speed. I think it takes too long for people to become competitive. So I'd like to see sort of a de-evolution in speed, in tracks, so that it's easier for a person to be successful quicker.
What's the next big thing?
Next big thing? Well, the industry today, it's FPV. All these air products with FPV is the controversy and the big thing. But for cars, I don't know what it's going to take for racing. I think the next big thing is going to be some industry changes. And I don't know when it's going to happen yet. I don't see it happening yet. We need to de-escalate the cost of racing and the time of entry, the cost of being successful. So it's both a time component and a money component. So I think that'll be where we see the future thing happen, is whenever somebody does that right, where it resonates with the customer group and they migrate there. I think that'll be however it manifests. That's what we're going to see change the industry again.
What is your favorite RC vehicle to drive for fun?
8-scale on-road. That's the favorite thing I've ever done, to just go run around a track.
Do you have any other hobbies aside from RC?
Bicycles. I like cycling. Being a parent, that's a full-time hobby. So that's really it.
And lastly, Mr. Losi, what is your favorite kind of soup?
Soup. Split pea.
Thank you.